folks, welcome back to Guitar Wishlist. My name is 3-Chord Dave and today we're talking about the guitar that could possibly have the greatest name of any guitar ever built. It's the BC Rich Bich. Yes, from 1976, a maple body, a maple neck, an ebony fretboard, 2 humbuckers and 10 strings. Yeah, I know that's 4 too many. But anyway, every episode of Guitar Wishlist is heavily inspired by this book right here, The 1001 Guitars That You Should Dream of Playing Before You Die. It's a very cool book. It has guitars all the way back to the 16th century. Yes, they had guitars all the way back then. You should check this book out. It's very, very cool. You can check out the links in the description below to pick up your own copy. Now, of course, these guitars are out there. They're kind of crazy, and bear in mind these came out in the 70s, but that's not where the journey started for BC Rich. In fact, it was Bernardo Sr. who purchased a guitar shop in Los Angeles, and through the fact that a lot of guitars were being repaired and people were coming in looking for new stuff when he didn't have stock, he decided he would get some people to build guitars for him. And where did he go to? Parejo in Mexico, where it's considered the guitar capital of Mexico, by the way. And he brought in some luthiers to the United States, over to Los Angeles. They were working on repairing guitars and also building then some BC Rich acoustic guitars. These were the very first ones. To get one of those now would cost you a lot of money, so don't even think about it. But those guitars had Brazilian rosewood back and sides, Sitka spruce tops, you had mahogany necks, you had ebony fretboards. They were beautiful, beautiful guitars. In fact, a lot of people, despite them not being a well-known brand at the time, preferred the BC Rich guitars to the Martins that they were bringing in for repair. So that tells you how good they actually were. Now, when Bernardo Sr.'s son grew a bit older, he was quite an established flamenco guitar player, and he actually became a lot more interested in building guitars himself and getting into the work of the luthiers in the shop. So that's when they started, pumping out a few more guitars. And the idea of electric guitars became more kind of prevalent to the business. So this was Bernardo Chavez Rico, who the guitar company is named after, and the rest, as they say, is history. And it was 1972 when they brought their first electric guitar to market. That was called the Seagull and was kind of, based on some kind of Gibson-y designs. But they would evolve, and over the next 4 years, they found their way to the BC Rich Bich, which is, as I said, the greatest name a guitar has ever had. Now, as I said, the guitar had some pretty standard features: a maple body, a maple neck, an ebony fretboard. All of those things were kind of big in the 70s. That's pretty cool. Fantastic. But 10 strings, where do you get that from? Well, those 4 extra strings had to go in somewhere a little bit different. So you still had 6 tuners at the top, 3 on our side, and then you had the 4 there in the cutaway at the bottom of the guitar, I guess is how you would call it. Obviously a very interesting design here, and much like a 12-string guitar, you would have 4 strings were doubled up, and it was tuned obviously in 2 ways. But a lot of people actually would take off those 4 strings and just play these as 6-string guitars. Joe Perry famously said that he just didn't bother with the 4 strings at all, that it sounded great, it played great, and it was just a great guitar. Slash has played one on tour for the last few years, and people like Dave Mustaine, he played one when he was in Metallica. So a lot of metal or heavier guitar players have enjoyed these guitars and played them on famous recordings and things like that. I think these are really, really cool, not just because they're called the Rich Bich, which is the greatest name a guitar has ever had, but they're just so different from anything else that was available at the time. And of course, when you look at BC Rich, they have some unbelievably cool models. The Mockingbird is very cool. Probably my favorite actually, BC Rich, is the Mockingbird. Of course, the likes of Kerry King couldn't be seen without a Warlock. That's very cool guitar and very iconic. Slash, of course, known for playing a Mockingbird in the early days of Guns N' Roses, and now, of course, rocking with a Rich Bich as well in green, which you can see here. So very cool. So I thought to myself, well, what would it take to get a 1976 BC Rich? So I took a look on Reverb to see what I could get from the 1970s for a BC Rich Bich. Yeah, couldn't get one. So the nearest they had was a 1983, I believe. It didn't look great. Like, it had been refinned and it just didn't look great. So that was coming in about $7,500. No, thank you. Now, the good news is, if you're into these guitars and you want to pick one up, they're actually making some pretty cheap versions comparatively out in the Far East. And in fact, in Korea, they're making some very cool copies of these at the moment, like officially licensed copies. They go from anywhere from about 800 up to about 2,000 euros at the minute. So if you're interested in picking up a BC Rich Bich, you can pick one up. And they come in two variants, just a straight up 6-string guitar, or you can also get the 10 strings. So it's up to you what you want to do there. I think these are pretty cool. They're on the guitar wish list. Someday I'll pick up one of those Korean ones. Anyway guys, that's guitar wish list for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back with another guitar wish list next Monday. More guitar videos on the channel this week. And don't forget, we do a live stream every Saturday. Thanks for joining me guys, and I'll see you on the next one.